Can time really erase the sound of someone's name? She had built her life around silence. Not peace, just quiet. The kind that doesn't heal, only hides. Every morning, Claire woke up to the same coffee mug, the same city noise outside her apartment window, and the same hollow calm she'd taught herself to call moving on. But sometimes, just before dawn, she could still hear his voice, Daniel's, echoing in her mind. It wasn't real, but it felt close enough to hurt. 3 years ago, they were inseparable, the kind of couple that made plans without checking calendars. Late-night walks, inside jokes, the promise that they'd never need anyone else. Then one morning he was gone. No fight, no final words, just a folded note on the kitchen counter. I need to find myself. That was it. The man she thought she'd spend forever with disappeared into silence. Claire didn't chase him. At first, she told herself he'd come back when he was ready. Then she told herself she didn't care if he did. By the end of that first year, she had stopped telling herself anything at all. Life became routine. She worked, she smiled, she pretended. Her friends stopped asking how she was. Even her parents stopped mentioning his name. It was easier that way, but healing isn't a straight line. Some nights she'd find herself scrolling through old pictures, his smile reflected in hers, and she'd feel that familiar ache. Then she'd shut the phone, shut the memories, and remind herself, he chose silence. You chose survival, until tonight. Her phone buzzed while she was cleaning up after dinner. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Then she saw the message. I'm back in town. Can we talk? The world around her seemed to freeze. 3 years of silence, and suddenly, a single line. Her fingers trembled. She stared at the screen like it was a ghost. For a full minute, she didn't breathe. Then her thumb typed 2 words before her mind could stop it. Where? She regretted it immediately. What was she doing? Why give him that power again? She placed the phone down and walked away. But it vibrated again before she could even reach the kitchen. The cafe on 8th tomorrow, 6 p.m. Claire didn't reply. She didn't need to. He knew she'd come. Maybe he always did. The next day moved too slowly. Every tick of the clock seemed louder. She changed her outfit 3 times, then told herself it wasn't a date. Just closure. That's all she wanted, the words she never got. Yet when she finally stood in front of the cafe door, her reflection in the glass looked nervous. Hopeful, even. The smell of roasted coffee and warm pastries wrapped around her as she stepped inside. The place hadn't changed. The same hanging lights, the same quiet buzz of conversation. She spotted him immediately. Daniel sat near the window, his head slightly bowed, stirring his drink like he was buying time. He looked different. Older, maybe thinner, but still familiar in a way that made her chest tighten. The sight of him was a collision of past and present. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but none of her versions had prepared her for the real one. He looked up and froze. For a second, everything else vanished. Just 2 people and 3 years of silence between them. Then he said her name, softly, almost a whisper. Claire. It was enough to break everything she'd held together. She sat down without saying a word. The table between them felt too small for everything that had been left unsaid. He smiled faintly, nervous. You look good, she nodded. So do you. It wasn't true. He looked tired, like someone who'd seen too much and said too little. For a while, neither spoke. Just the clinking of cups and the hum of other lives happening around them. Then finally, she broke the silence. Why now, Daniel? He looked down at his coffee. Because I couldn't stay away any longer. Her jaw tightened. You stayed away just fine for 3 years. He flinched at her tone. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought leaving would help me figure things out. But all it did was show me what I'd lost. She laughed quietly, not out of amusement, but disbelief. You figured that out now? He didn't argue. He just looked at her. The way he used to. As if she were something he'd never deserved. That look was dangerous. It made her heartbeat stumble, made old walls tremble. I'm not here to make excuses, he said softly. I just wanted to see you again. Then you've seen me, she replied, standing up. Her chair scraped the floor. Goodbye, Daniel. But before she could walk away, he reached into his jacket and placed something on the table. a small silver key. She froze. "I never changed the lock," he said quietly. "I couldn't," her throat went dry. It was their key, the one that used to hang on a ring shaped like half a heart, his half. She had thrown hers away years ago, but now, seeing it again felt like opening an old wound that never truly closed. She sat back down slowly, unable to speak. "I kept it," he continued, voice shaking. "Every time I thought I'd moved on, I'd find this in my pocket. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't replace what we had." The words should have meant something. They should have hurt less, but all Claire felt was confusion, and the sharp sting of memories she'd tried to bury. Her mind flashed back to the day he left. The sunlight through the kitchen window, the smell of his cologne fading as she read that single sentence on his note. She remembered standing there, waiting for the sound of the door opening again. It never did. Now here he was, sitting across from her like no time had passed at all. "Do you expect me to believe that?" she asked, her voice trembling between anger and disbelief. He looked at her, eyes tired but sincere. "No, I just want you to know it's true." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then his phone buzzed on the table. A woman's name lit up the screen. "Emily." He froze. She noticed. Claire's stomach tightened. She said nothing, just watched as he hesitated, then turned the phone face down. That one small action said everything, her hands clenched in her lap. "So that's why you came back," she said quietly. "You wanted to see if you still had a backup plan." His eyes widened. "Claire, no, it's not." But she was already standing again. This time, she didn't stop. She grabbed her coat, fighting back the tears she refused to let him see. "Don't call me again," she said, her voice breaking halfway through. "Not after this." He stood too, desperate. "Please, let me explain." But she was already halfway to the door. The bell above it chimed as she stepped out into the cold night. Her heart pounded against her ribs, the city lights blurred behind the tears she wouldn't let fall. She walked fast, almost running, the sound of her heels sharp against the pavement. She hated that her hands were shaking, hated that part of her still wanted to believe him. She stopped at the corner, breathing hard. Her reflection in a dark shop window looked like someone she didn't recognize, hurt, tired, but still searching for something she wasn't sure existed anymore. The rain began to fall, soft at first, then steady. She pulled her coat tighter and looked back toward the cafe. Through the window, she could still see Daniel sitting there alone, head in his hands. For a second, she thought he might come after her. But he didn't, and maybe that hurt the most. As the rain blurred the world into streaks of gray and gold, Claire realized something she hadn't dared admit before. Silence had always been her shield. But maybe it was also her prison. And now, with one unexpected message, one meeting, one familiar voice saying her name, that silence was broken. But what if breaking it only meant more pain? She wiped her face, turned away, and walked into the rain, unaware that the story wasn't over yet. Because the next time her phone buzzed, it wouldn't be Daniel's name she'd see, but someone else's. And that message would change everything. The rain hadn't stopped since that night. For 2 days, the city stayed gray, as if mirroring the storm inside Claire's chest. She told herself it was over, that meeting Daniel was just a mistake she needed to make once to remember why she had moved on. But the truth? She hadn't moved on. She had just learned to live with the ache. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart jumped before her mind reminded her. Don't hope. Still, part of her waited. For another message, for an explanation, for something. It came on the 3rd day. Please, just one more chance to talk. She stared at the screen for a long time. Logic screamed to delete it. Pride whispered to ignore it. But curiosity, that quiet, dangerous thing, made her type one word back. Where? When she walked into the park that evening, the air was cold and sharp. Leaves crunched under her boots. Daniel stood near the fountain, his jacket half zipped, hair damp from drizzle. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. Don't thank me, she replied. Just talk. He nodded. I deserve that. For a moment, he didn't speak. He just watched the water ripple in the fountain like he was searching for words that didn't sound empty. Finally, he said, "The woman who called that night, Emily, she isn't who you think." Claire crossed her arms. "Then who is she?" "She was there when I had nothing," he said. "When I left, I thought I was escaping everything. The pressure, the expectations, even us. But I ended up breaking more than I fixed. Emily was just someone who listened. She helped me through bad days, but she never replaced you." His words fell softly, like raindrops. But Claire didn't move. Her eyes were steady, though her heart was racing. "You could have told me that before walking out. Before disappearing." "I didn't know how," he admitted. "I thought I was saving you from the mess I'd become." She gave a bitter laugh. "You didn't save me, Daniel. You just left me to clean up what you broke." He looked down, ashamed. "I know. And I'm sorry. I want to make it right." Her chest tightened. "And how do you plan to do that? You think showing up after 3 years with an apology is enough?" "No," he said softly. "But it's a start." She turned away, looking at the city lights flickering through the trees. Part of her wanted to scream at him, to tell him how much she hated him for making her wait. But another part, the part that remembered their laughter, the warmth of his hand, the sound of his voice in the dark, that part just wanted to stop hurting. "Why did you really come back?" she whispered. He stepped closer. "Because I finally understood what love costs, and I realized silence was the most expensive thing I ever chose." His voice cracked at the last word. She felt it. Every syllable cut deep because it sounded honest, and that honesty scared her more than lies ever could. For a moment, they just stood there, the sound of the fountain between them like a heartbeat. Then quietly, he reached into his coat and took out a small envelope. "I wrote this years ago," he said. "I was supposed to send it to you. I didn't. I couldn't." She hesitated, then took it. Inside was a letter, pages folded neatly, edges worn. She started to read, but his voice stopped her. "Not now," he said softly. "Read it when you're ready." She slipped it into her pocket. "You think words will change what happened?" "No," he replied. "But maybe they'll explain it." She looked at him, really looked at him. The tired eyes, the guilt, the fear. He wasn't the same man who left. He was someone broken trying to rebuild what he'd destroyed. And the hardest part was realizing she still cared. "I don't know what you expect from me," she said finally. He took a slow breath. "Nothing. I just needed to see you again, even if it's for the last time." Her throat tightened. "You're good at that. Making goodbyes sound poetic." "Maybe," he said, smiling faintly. "But this one's different." Before she could ask what he meant, thunder rumbled above them. The first drops of rain started to fall again. Daniel stepped closer, holding his jacket over her head. For a moment, they were inches apart, close enough to feel old memories pressing between them. She wanted to step back, to keep her distance. But she didn't. She let the silence sit there, warm and dangerous. Then his phone buzzed again. The same name flashed on the screen. Emily. Her chest went cold. Daniel cursed under his breath and quickly silenced it. "It's not what you think," he said immediately. Claire shook her head. "You keep saying that. Please, Claire. She doesn't mean—" "Enough!" she snapped, stepping back. "You can't come into my life again and expect me to trust you overnight. It doesn't work like that." "I know," he said, "but I'm trying." She crossed her arms, fighting the tremor in her voice. "Then try without someone else calling you every 5 minutes. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'll tell her to stop." "Maybe you should," she said coldly, turning to leave. He followed. "Claire, please, don't," she said, not looking back. "Just don't." She walked away, faster this time, before he could see the tears she was holding in. Her shoes splashed through puddles as the rain picked up again. Every drop felt heavier than the last. When she finally reached the street, she stopped under a streetlight and took out the envelope. It was damp now, the ink bleeding slightly through the paper. For a moment, she considered throwing it away. Then with shaking hands, she unfolded it. The first line stopped her breath. "If I could undo one thing in my life, it would be leaving you." Her eyes blurred as she read. line after line of regret, of guilt, of memories she had tried to forget. He wrote about sleepless nights, about the places he traveled trying to escape her face in every crowd. He wrote about silence, how it haunted him, how every word he didn't say echoed louder with time. By the end, her tears had smudged half the words, but one sentence stayed clear. "If you ever let me see you again, I'll spend the rest of my life proving I never stopped loving you." She folded the letter slowly, her fingers trembling. For the first time in years, she didn't know what to feel. Anger? Hope? Fear? Maybe all of it. That night she couldn't sleep. She replayed every word, every look, every hesitation. She wanted to hate him. It would have been easier. But hate required distance, and Daniel had destroyed that the moment he came back. Just after midnight, she got up and made herself a cup of tea. The steam fogged the window as she stared at the city lights outside. Then from the corner of her eye she saw something, a shadow near the gate of her building. Her heartbeat quickened. She moved closer to the window. Daniel. He was standing there, soaked from the rain, holding something in his hand. She opened the window slightly. "What are you doing here?" she called down. His voice rose through the storm. "I had to make sure you got home safe." "You didn't have to," she said. "I wanted to," he replied. "And I wanted to say goodbye. For real this time, if that's what you want." Her chest tightened. "Go home, Daniel." He nodded slowly, rain dripping down his face. "I will." But before he turned away, he lifted the object he was holding. Another envelope, smaller this time. "You dropped this," he said. "From the cafe," she frowned. "What is it?" He hesitated. "A photo," her heart skipped. "Of what?" He didn't answer. He just placed it gently in her mailbox and walked away. Claire waited until he disappeared down the street before going to check. She opened the box, hands trembling. Inside was a photograph. Old, faded, worn from years of being folded. It was the two of them. Sitting by the lake, laughing. The day he had told her he loved her for the first time. On the back, a small message was written in his handwriting. "I never stopped waiting for this day." She stared at the photo, feeling everything crash at once. Love, pain, confusion, longing. The rain had stopped. The city was quiet again. Claire pressed the picture to her chest, eyes closed, whispering to no one. "Why now?" But no answer came. Only silence. Then her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You don't know me, but Daniel's been keeping something from you." Her blood ran cold. She stared at the screen, frozen, heart pounding. What was he hiding? And just like that, the silence between them turned dangerous again. The message appeared just after midnight. Claire stared at it, her heart pounding. "You don't know me, but Daniel's been keeping something from you." She read it again, and again. The words burned into her thoughts like a warning she didn't want to understand. For a moment she thought it was a prank, some cruel stranger trying to stir old wounds. But then she noticed something chilling. The profile photo. A blurry image of a woman with light hair, and the name under it, Emily. Her pulse spiked. She didn't reply. She couldn't. Instead, she locked her phone and sat there, frozen on the couch. The city outside was silent, but her mind wasn't. Every possible question came rushing at once. Why would Emily message her? What did she mean by keeping something? And why now? Sleep was impossible. She lay awake till morning, staring at the ceiling, waiting for daylight to make sense of what darkness had delivered. But daylight didn't help. It only made the silence louder. By noon, she couldn't take it anymore. She grabbed her coat and drove. No plan, no destination, just the need to move. But her car seemed to know where to go. 10 minutes later, she was parked outside the cafe where it all began, and there he was again. Daniel, sitting inside, phone in hand, lost in thought. The sight of him made her chest ache, not with love this time, but with something sharper. She watched for a full minute before walking in. He looked up, surprised. "Claire?" Her voice came out steady. "We need to talk." He blinked, confused. What's wrong? Who's Emily? She asked quietly, his breath caught. He leaned back, caught off guard by the direct hit. Claire, she messaged me, she said, before he could continue. Last night. Said you're keeping something from me? Daniel froze, his jaw clenched, and for a second, his eyes darted away, a small movement, but enough to confirm her fear. Daniel, she said softly. What is she talking about? He exhaled slowly. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. He ran a hand through his hair, struggling. I didn't want to drag you into it. Into what? She pressed. He hesitated, then finally spoke. When I left, I didn't just walk away from us. I walked away from everything. My job, my friends, my family. I was lost. And Emily, she helped me get through that. But she wanted more. I told her I couldn't love her, not the way she wanted. She didn't take it well. Claire crossed her arms. So she's what? A jealous ex? He looked her straight in the eyes. She's pregnant. The world stopped, her breath caught in her throat. The air around her seemed to vanish. What? She whispered. Daniel's voice trembled. It's not what you think, Claire. It happened once. A mistake. Months after I left. I tried to be responsible, but she lied. Said she was fine, that she didn't need anything from me. Then she disappeared. I thought it was over. I didn't even know if she... Enough! Claire said sharply, her voice shaking. You had 3 years to tell me the truth, and you wait until she messages me? I didn't know she would, he said desperately. I didn't even know where she was until she texted me last week. She said she wanted to talk. I told her not to contact you. I was trying to protect you. Protect me? Claire's laugh was bitter. From what, Daniel? From the truth? People in the cafe had started glancing their way, sensing the tension. Claire stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. Daniel reached out to stop her, but she stepped back. Don't, she said. Don't touch me, Claire, please. But she was already walking out. Outside, the wind hit her face hard, cold and cutting. Her mind was spinning, but one thought kept looping. He lied. Not once, not twice, for years. Every word, every apology, every "I missed you," now felt like a performance rehearsed too well. She walked for blocks without realizing where she was going. The world blurred. Cars, lights, voices, all distant noise. When she finally stopped, she was standing in front of the old apartment building. Their building. The key he had given her, the one she swore she'd never use, was still in her bag. Without thinking, she took it out. The metal was cold against her palm. She didn't plan to go in. She just wanted to see if it still fit. It did. The door opened with a soft click, releasing a flood of memories. The scent of old wood and faded paint hit her like a wave. She stepped inside slowly, heart pounding. Everything was the same. The couch, the cracked picture frame on the shelf, the faint coffee stain on the counter. It was like time had stopped waiting for her to return. She sat on the couch, staring at the empty space beside her. For the first time, she didn't cry. The tears had dried somewhere between shock and exhaustion. She thought about Emily, faceless, distant, but suddenly very real. Was she really pregnant? Was there a child? Or was it manipulation? She didn't know. And worse, she didn't know if she cared enough to find out. The sound of footsteps pulled her out of her thoughts. She turned. Daniel stood at the doorway, soaked from the rain, eyes full of guilt. I knew you'd come here, he said softly. I shouldn't have, she replied. I needed to explain. You already did, she said. You just forgot to include the part where you destroyed everything left of me. He stepped closer. It wasn't love, Claire. What happened with her, it was emptiness. I was lost, angry, trying to prove I didn't need anyone. It meant nothing. Then why does it feel like it means everything now? She said, voice breaking. Because you made a choice, Daniel. You always make choices that hurt me, and then call them mistakes. He lowered his head. You have every right to hate me. I don't hate you, she said quietly. That's the problem. The words hung heavy between them. The rain outside grew louder, drumming against the window. Daniel moved closer, cautiously. If I could take it back, I would, all of it. I know sorry isn't enough, but I don't know what else to say. Claire looked up at him, tears finally spilling. You think sorry fixes betrayal? You think it fixes 3 years of silence? You think it fixes this? No, he said, his own voice shaking. But maybe it can start something honest. She turned away, arms folded. Honesty would have been telling me before I had to hear it from her. He swallowed hard. You're right. For a long time, neither moved. Just the sound of rain and 2 hearts breaking quietly in the same room. Then suddenly her phone buzzed. She picked it up without thinking. Another message. From Emily. He's lying again. Claire's hands trembled. She looked up at Daniel. She just texted me. His face went pale. What did she say? That you're lying. I'm not, he said instantly. Claire, please, you have to believe me. She stared at him, at his desperate eyes, at the man she once trusted more than herself. But her instincts screamed otherwise. Then prove it, she said coldly. Daniel hesitated, then took out his phone. I'll call her. Right now, you can hear it for yourself. Before she could respond, he dialed and put the phone on speaker. The call rang twice before connecting. Daniel? A woman's voice said. Calm, measured. Emily, he said quickly. Stop messaging Claire. There was a pause. Then softly. She deserves to know. Know what? Claire asked, stepping closer to the phone. Emily's voice changed, colder now. That he wasn't just lost when he left you. He was running, from debt, from people he owed. I helped him. I covered for him, and when I needed him, he disappeared again. Daniel's face drained of color. That's not true, he whispered. Emily laughed bitterly. Tell her about the money, Daniel. Tell her why you really left. The line went dead. For a second, silence filled the room. Claire stared at him, numb. Money? She whispered. Daniel didn't speak. His silence was answer enough. She took a step back, shaking her head. So this is it. The real reason. You didn't leave to find yourself. You left because you were drowning, and you didn't want me to see it. He looked at her, tears in his eyes. I didn't want to drag you down with me. You dragged me anyway, she said softly. Just slower. She walked toward the door, every step heavier than the last. Claire, please, he said, voice breaking. I've changed. I'm not that man anymore. She stopped at the doorway but didn't turn. Maybe you're not. But I don't know if I can ever trust the one you used to be. And then she left. Again. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky was gray but calm, like the moment before a storm returns. She walked fast, her mind a blur. Halfway down the street, her phone buzzed one last time. A new message, but this time not from Emily, from an unknown number. Meet me. I know what Daniel's hiding. Claire froze on the sidewalk, heart hammering. The wind picked up, carrying the faint smell of rain and something electric, like danger. She looked around, but the street was empty. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She didn't know whether to delete it or follow it, because for the first time she wasn't sure if she wanted the truth, or was terrified to finally hear it. Claire stared at the phone screen. Meet me, I know what Daniel's hiding. The message pulsed like a heartbeat in the dark. For a full minute she didn't move. The rain had stopped, the street was quiet, and she could hear her own breathing. Shallow, uncertain, scared. Every part of her said ignore it. Walk away, forget it all, start over. But her heart, that foolish, restless thing, whispered otherwise. What if this was the truth she'd been waiting for? She typed back one word. Where? The reply came fast. Old train station. 9 p.m., come alone, she almost laughed. It sounded like something out of a movie. Dramatic, dangerous, ridiculous. But nothing about her life felt normal anymore. The man she once loved had turned into a stranger wrapped in half-truths, and she needed to know how deep the lies went. At exactly 9, she stood outside the abandoned station. The platform was quiet, the air damp, filled with the faint smell of rust and rain. She clutched her coat tighter, heart pounding. A shadow moved near the benches. A woman stepped into the dim light, pale face, tired eyes, blonde hair pulled back. Emily. So you're real, Claire said, voice steady but cold. Emily smiled faintly. Very real. Claire kept her distance. You said you know what Daniel's hiding. I'm here, talk. Emily studied her for a moment. He didn't tell you about the money, did he? He told me some, Claire said. That he owed people. That he was lost. Emily shook her head. He didn't just owe people, Claire. He owed the wrong people. He borrowed from a private investor to start a small company, said it was for a tech project. It failed. He couldn't pay them back. He disappeared before they found him. Claire's stomach tightened. And you helped him? I did, Emily said softly. I paid off part of it. I thought I was saving him, but he ran again. Left me with the rest. The words landed heavy, each one colder than the last. Claire didn't speak. Emily stepped closer. He's not the man you think. He's been lying to both of us. Claire's voice trembled. And why are you telling me this now? Emily looked away. Because I'm done cleaning up his messes. And because he's going to need someone when it all catches up to him. The sound of footsteps echoed behind them. Both women turned. Daniel was there, standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. So this is what it's come to, he said quietly. Claire's heart dropped. How did you know I was here? I followed you, he admitted. I got another message too. I knew it was her. Emily crossed her arms. Of course you did. You always show up late, Daniel. You always do. Stop this, he said. You don't know what you're doing. Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing, she snapped. I'm done protecting you. The tension was sharp enough to cut through the air. Claire stepped between them. Enough. Both of you. Daniel turned to her, desperation in his eyes. Claire, I can explain. No, she said. You've done enough explaining. You said it was one mistake. You said you were trying to make things right. Was any of it true? His jaw tightened. Yes. Everything I said about you was true. I left because I was in trouble. I didn't want to drag you into that. Emily laughed bitterly. He always says that. Daniel ignored her. I paid back what I could. I've been working to clear the rest. I didn't want you to know because I wanted to come back as someone better. Claire's chest ached. You don't get to decide what I deserve to know. He nodded slowly, guilt written all over his face. You're right, Emily sighed. You think the world forgives that easily, Daniel? You think debts just disappear because you say sorry? He turned to her. I didn't ask for forgiveness. I asked for time. 3 years of it, she snapped. And you still managed to break everything you touched. Claire's heart pounded harder. Why did you message me, Emily? Emily's eyes softened. Because I saw how you looked at him in that cafe. You still love him, and I wanted you to know what that love costs. For a moment, silence filled the space. 3 people, one broken history between them. Then quietly, Emily said, He's leaving again. Claire turned sharply. What? Daniel's face went pale. Emily, she continued. He got an offer overseas. A contract. He told me last week he'd take it if things with you didn't work out. Claire stared at him. Is that true? Daniel hesitated, then whispered, Yes. Something in her broke. So this whole time, you had one foot out the door. It's not like that, he said quickly. I didn't know what you wanted from me. I wanted honesty, she said, voice cracking. Not another secret, not another goodbye. Rain started again outside, light but steady, tapping against the metal roof. It was the same sound from 3 years ago, the sound that marked their first ending. Daniel stepped closer. I came back because I still love you. That's the only truth I have left. I was afraid of losing you again. You already did, she whispered. He stopped moving. The silence between them grew heavy, unbearable. Emily turned to leave. I've said what I came to say. You two can keep rewriting your story, but I'm done being a chapter in it. She walked out into the rain, disappearing into the darkness. Daniel looked down, his voice barely audible. I never meant for any of this to happen. Claire's eyes filled with tears. But it did, and meaning well doesn't erase what's real. He reached for her hand, hesitating. Please don't walk away again. She looked at him, at the man she'd once loved so fiercely that she forgot who she was without him. And now, standing in front of him, she realized the truth she'd been avoiding. Love wasn't always enough. "You know what hurts most?" she said softly. "I kept believing silence was the end. But it turns out it's where all your lies began." He flinched like she'd struck him. "Claire," she took a shaky breath. "Maybe one day I'll forgive you. But not tonight." Then she turned and walked out into the rain. Daniel didn't follow. Not this time. The sky cracked open with thunder as she stepped onto the street. Her heart ached, but somewhere deep inside, a strange calm was settling. The calm that comes after letting go. She walked fast, almost running, until she reached the main road. The city lights blurred through the rain. She stopped under a street lamp, breathing hard, staring up at the gray sky. Then her phone buzzed, another message. This one from an unknown number again. "You should check your father's hospital. Daniel was there today." Her pulse spiked. "What?" She opened the message fully. There was an attached photo, her father's hospital entrance, and Daniel standing outside talking to a man in a black coat. Claire's mind raced. Why was he there? What did he tell them? She turned back toward the direction of the hospital, heart pounding. Was this another lie? Another secret he hadn't told her? She didn't know anymore what to believe. All she knew was that every time she tried to close the door on him, something, or someone, forced it open again. As she hurried toward her car, the rain intensified, blurring the road ahead. Lightning flashed in the distance, lighting up the city skyline for a brief, blinding second. She got in, started the engine, and gripped the steering wheel. Her reflection in the rearview mirror looked like a stranger, soaked, trembling, eyes filled with questions she didn't want to ask. The phone buzzed again. A new message popped up on the screen. This one wasn't from Emily, not from the unknown number. It was from Daniel. "Claire, don't go to the hospital, please, it's not safe." Her heart stopped. She stared at the message, hands frozen on the wheel. Not safe? 1,000 thoughts collided at once. What did he mean? What was happening? Was this another lie? Or was she walking straight into something bigger than she imagined? She looked out at the rain-soaked city and whispered to herself, "What have you done, Daniel?" The headlights flickered in front of her as she drove off into the storm, chasing answers she wasn't sure she wanted anymore. And somewhere behind her, unseen, a figure stepped out from the shadows near the train station. Watching her car fade into the rain, a phone glowing in his hand, a single message appeared on his screen. She took the bait,